Hello guys, good evening. I hope you will be fine. So today we are going to discuss study unit 19. Please remember unit number 19, which is information system and data governance, and study unit 20, which is system development and data analytics. So these two chapters or this section is known as technology and analytics, and this is your 15% of your exam. It's theoretical area. So in unit number 19, guys, we have, please switch off your mics, please. Under unit number 19, guys, we have three topics. 19.1, it is about accounting information system, which we have discussed in the last class, in the last video. And there we have discussed about what is management information system, what is accounting information system, what is transaction processing system. And we also discussed about something about databases, like types of databases. Okay, so that was the topic. So today we are going to talk about 19.2 and 19.3. So 19.2 is about data governance and data lifecycle. It is important topic. And 19.3, it is CAUSO framework. Okay. Obviously, CAUSO framework we also discussed under unit number 17. So here I will not repeat what it was in detail, but here we will discuss only relevant to the IT, few important points. Okay. So here we go, moving to the 19.2. So here we go with 19.2 topic, which is data governance and risk. Guys, let me tell you about the risk. We already also studied. Risk mean to say any unwanted event which can arise and which can affect the company in negative way. Or in other words, any obstacles or hurdles or any event which can stop you in achieving the organizational objective, that is called risk. So when it comes to the IT, we have a different types of risks. Although we studied, but I'm just going to quote some of them. For example, we have a risk of virus attack is there. So we have a risk of hacking is there. So we have a risk of unauthorized access is there. So we have a different risk relevant to the IT. Because when we store information into the computers, it means we are applying the IT into our business, right? So many IT security relevant issues might arise. Many cyber security issues might be arise, right? So that is why, so what we have to do to avoid those kind of risk, for example, if you want to avoid a virus risk, you have to install antivirus software. If you want to, for example, avoid unauthorized access to the data, so you have to implement access controls, right? So you also need to craft policies and procedures, right or wrong, in conjunction with the antivirus softwares and access control software. So many risks can be managed. But here we have a very first point that we need to understand, that is called system availability. What is system availability? I'm just giving example. For example, you are trying to book an appointment with any embassy, for example, and you are trying to book online. So what happening? Maybe their system is slow down, their system is not accessible. So it means system is not available, right? So whenever it is required, system should be available. So system might not be available due to different reasons. Maybe there could be a cyber security issues, there could be a hacking attack. So that is why, and normal you can also face a issue. For example, if you are applying your system within your business, maybe you have a power failure issue, maybe you have an environmental hazards issue like fire and water or humidity issue, maybe you have a unauthorized access issue. So that is why system availability means say whenever it is required, so system should respond, our system must be available for the use. So that is why the ability to make the use of any computer based system is dependent upon, like what you have to do to ensure that system is available whenever it is required. So you have to ensure that you have uninterrupted flow of electricity. like you don't have electricity issue, then you also need to ensure that your system is protected, or your hardware or softwares are protected from environmental hazards. Like your system is protected from fire, water, humidity, heat, etc. Right? You also need to ensure that your softwares are protected and your data files are protected from unauthorized access or from unauthorized alteration, right? So you also need to ensure that your what, for example, sometime within business, we are linking one device with other device, or one computer with the other computer, with through the networking, right or wrong. We need to ensure that our networking is proper, and they are helping us to communicate with each other devices. So that is why system availability depends upon various factors, right? So this is just a general information. Now guys, here we are going to discuss about risks to data, because I'm going to explain now step by step. For example, let me tell you guys the first concept, because obviously when we store the data, we have a different, risks which are available for the data, or which can destroy your data. For example, virus attack, hacking, etc. So, but here, apart from those risks which we have already covered, we are going to discuss something others. For example, here there is a one concept which is called transaction trails. Transaction trials. So what is transaction trials? Please, it is also called an order trial. So guys, let me give you simple example. For example, when you book any entry into the system, for example, in accounting system, let's assume you are going to record a sales, or you are going to record a purchase transaction into the system. So on the back end, so you must have source document, right or wrong. For example, to record the sale, you must have a sale invoice. For example, to record the purchases, you must have a purchase invoice. If you are recording any maintenance expense, you must have a source document on the back end, like work completion report, quotations, etc. Right? So in order trail will help you. Okay, first you have to understand what is order trail. Order trail mean to say, if a transaction is entered into the system, so that transactions can be traced back to the source document. And you can also take the help through the order trail, like when this transaction was recorded, what was the date, what was the time, what kind of event it was which was recorded, who created this event, right or wrong, from which system it was created. So this is called order trail. Like it is the history of the transaction, like when it was entered, who entered this transaction, or who created this transaction, what was the date, what was the time, what was the event which was recorded in the system, right? So that is called transaction trail. And mostly this transaction trails is available with accounting softwares. Okay, plus source document will also be the part of transaction trail. Okay, when it was entered, who entered this transaction, it is all available in the history. So now the point is that what is the purpose of an order trail? Okay, and then I link what the point it is. The purpose of order trail, like when history is created, so is to reduce errors, fraudulent activities, and unauthorized system access, improve internal controls, and verify the accuracy of underlying accounting transaction flowing to the financial statement. So you can simply ensure which transaction was recorded, who recorded, when recorded, what was the date, what was the time. So this is the purpose of the audit trail. Now, guys, what we are talking about here, because when we apply online system, or which is also called real-time system, online system, where data is entered directly into the computers. So for example, airline reservation system, where you can enter data directly into the system to book your flight, to book a ticket, right or wrong. So in online or real-time system, please remember, the online and real-time system eliminate portions of order trails traditionally provided by the source document, mostly in real-time system. So these order trails are not available. For example, in online, if you're booking online ticket, so maybe you are not providing the copy of the passport, right or wrong. So it means there is a no source document. So that is why in online system, this order trail is automatically eliminated, right? So this is the risk. So it is hard to track the transactions also. So that is why it's called risks to data. So this is the first risk. I told you what is order trail. Okay. And I told you what is the risk, because in online a real-time system where data is directly entered into the computer, eliminating portion of the order trails traditionally provided by the source documents, because we don't have much source documents in online real-time system. This is the risk. Second risk, when you apply IT to your work, that is called unauthorized access. For example, you are working as accountant, right or wrong? So when accounting records were kept in pen and ink format, when computer, like when your work was manual, so at that time, if you want to access any files, maybe physically you have to go there and you can access that data. But nowadays, because we apply computers, so what is the risk to data? Any hackers can hack your system, and any hackers can hack your network, and he can get unauthorized access to your data, and he can change certain things, right or wrong. So that is why, to avoid unauthorized access, some security measures we are taking, like what? For example, we install firewalls, we allocate ID and passwords to each users, right or wrong, to maintain the security over the data in automated environment. So this is the second risk, which is called unauthorized access. I hope so it is very simple, it is clear, right? Then what? We have a third type of risk, which is called data vulnerability. What does mean by data vulnerability? Obviously, guys, when you apply computers, if you will not store your data off-site, off-site means somewhere else, not in your office. Usually what we do, for example, if you are storing your whole information into one system, if someone will steal that system, you will lose all the data, right? So it means your data is vulnerable. Okay, not only through the physical access, it is vulnerable, it is open to attack through the hacking also. So that is why, what is best is that don't store your data only at one place. No, always try it. It is vital for the organizations that all computer files must be duplicated and stored offsite periodically. Offsite periodically mean to say, like, you should, if you are work, yeah, you have office maybe in UAE, so you can create another data backup place, for example, maybe in other country, and you should store your data there also, because in case if this data is destroyed due to anything, or if it is not accessible, so at least you should have a copy of the data so you can continue with your work. This is called another risk. Then, guys, we have another risk. Let me explain here. This is also risk to the data, that is called reduced segregation of duty. So let me give you simple example, guys. In computers, for example, if you are doing first manual work, let's assume you are working with the cash department. So there could be many people who are working with the cash functions or cash department. For example, maybe one person is receiving cash, other person is filling the deposit slips, maybe third person is going to deposit the cash into the bank and bringing back the validated deposit slip, and maybe fourth person is going to enter into the system. But nowadays we apply the system, maybe receipts of cash, deposit slips, even journal entries may be automatically generated by the computer. It is possible because nowadays, even if you will scan an invoice, system is automatically posting the entries into the system. So this artificial intelligence is also available, right? So if the same employee, because in computers, so we have a less segregation of duties because most of the work is done by computers. If the same employees who receives the cash also responsible for entering the relevant data into the system, so the potential for fraud and error is increased. Why? For example, if I'm the one who is receiving cash and I'm the one who is entering the cash into the system, if I will receive more cash than maybe a transaction value, so obviously the above value which I have received or excess value which I have received, maybe I will steal it, right or wrong. So that is why potential for fraud and error is increased. So this is what does mean by reduced segregation of duties, mean to say in automated environment, everything is done by system, right? So you are not having much people to do. So that is why there is potential, because if one employee is dealing all these things, so through the systems, maybe he will find some loopholes with the passage of time and he can commit the fraud. Okay, are the chances for fraud and error is will increase, obviously. So this is what is called reduced segregation of duties point. This is also a risk. Then, guys, we have a reduced individual authorization for transaction. This is another risk. Let me give you simple example for that. For example, if you will think manually, let's assume if you want to buy inventory, maybe you need to receive a purchase requisition. Okay. or maybe you will create a purchase requisition, you will send it to the purchasing department. So purchasing department will maybe find out the supplier and they will place the order, and then there is a receiving department, they will receive the goods, etc. But nowadays in automated environment, in computer based environment, so some companies, they have automated system. So system will initiate the order automatically. For example, if you have given, let's assume you have a proper software or system to control your inventory, and you have given certain commands to the inventory. For example, if inventory will reach to this certain level of inventory, so automatically system will place the order to the supply. To which supply? Obviously with which your system is attached. For example, Alphathame, which is the customer of Toyota company. If, for example, Alphathame has given the command to the system, if cars will reach to the 10, system will automatically place the order to the Toyota company, right or wrong? So without your authorization. So your system is linked through EDI system. EDI means electronic data interchanges. So your system is linked with the Toyota, right or wrong? So now once your inventory will reach to the 10 cars, automatically system will place the order with the Toyota company for certain quantity of the cars, right? So this is called reduced individual authorization of transaction. It means what it means. So when you apply computers, you do not need to authorize each transaction, because if your computers are automated, if you have automated system, so system will do automatically. They will not ask for your authorization. So that is why, so we need a perfect coding to design the system. So we need perfect coding to ensure that computer programs accurately reflect management goals for business process. We need to ensure coding is correct and it will not make any mistake. Okay, so this is another risk. So we have another risk to our data, which is called what? Malicious software, malware. Like malicious software means any harmful software, any computer program which is harmful for your business. It could be to your system. It could be a virus. I told you, different types of malicious software in the previous lectures. Like it could be a Trojan horse, virus attack is there, right? So logic bombs, so many malicious softwares are available which can destroy your system. So this we have already covered under study unit 18 and subunit 2. So this is also risk to your data. I hope so it is clear. So far what we have discussed, I told you what is system availability, how you can ensure that your system is available whenever it is required. Then I told you there are certain risks are available to our data, because nowadays we store data into the computers. Guys, now we are going to discuss about, there is a one framework which is called Cobit framework. Okay, so Cobit have many versions. So most famous initially, Cobit, what is Cobit first? Remember, this is the acronyms for Cobit. Control Objective for Information and Related Technology. Okay, control objective. So you can say, so COBIT. I stand for information and related technology. This is T. So COBIT, Cobit. So Cobit means to say control objective for information and related technology. So let me tell you what it is. Actually, guys, it is a kind of a framework. Cobit, it is a framework, like for example, if you have accounting. So for accounting, we have a framework like IFRS is there. So and US GAAP is there. So these frameworks are guiding us what to do or how to record certain transactions, right or wrong. So same way we have a Cobit framework, and Cobit framework, what it tells us, it tells us about control and governance framework. You can say this framework provide us the information about IT related controls and about the governance, like on which areas you have to focus, right or wrong. It's a one kind of uh, you know framework is available, right? So same for, it has information about controls, okay, relevant to the IT environment. And guys, nowadays IT we are not using only in one department. So IT our computers we are using throughout the entities, right or wrong. So that is why Cobit is the best known control and governance framework, okay, that addresses information technology and related controls like controls related to the information technology, right or wrong. Please remember here. So I'll tell you what information you have to memorize. So its original, in its original version, because it has different version. Okay, in its original version, Cobit was focused on controls for specific IT process, for any specific process. But nowadays, computers are applied throughout the company. So it means, so we need controls throughout the entity also. We cannot say, okay, we cannot say we need IT relevant control in one specific department. No, we need IT relevant controls throughout the entity. Understood? So here we go. So we are not supposed to study all the versions of Cobit, what Cobit says. Okay. So, but we have to remember two things. So first, I'm going to tell you there is a first version which is called Cobit. It's not a first version. It is a famous version which is called Cobit 5. Okay. So why it is called Cobit 5? Because it has 5 key principles. So this Cobit framework, they are not actually guys telling you which kind of control you have to implement. No, they are guiding you the process, what you have to do. Understood? So even this Cobit 5, which is having a 5 principle, it is not written in your book. Not written. Okay. But whatever is written in your book, that you cannot understand without the understanding of Cobit 5. Because then we have a another version of Cobit, which is called Cobit 19. Okay. So this is another version which was developed in 2018, but the name is called Cobit 19. So to understand Cobit 19, which is written in your book, so we need to understand Cobit 5 first. Understood? So because lot of terminologies are derived under Cobit 19, those terminologies are from Cobit 5. So why it is called Cobit 5? As I told you, it is a framework. Simply, you can remember it is a framework relevant to the IT, right? And Cobit 5 is having a 5 key principles. So let me tell you what are the 5 key principles. Okay, principle number one. So let me tell you here. The principle number one is called meeting stakeholder needs. Heading, I'm just telling you. Principle number two, then I'll explain one by one. Principle number two is called covering the enterprise end to end. Principle number three is applying a single integrated framework. Principle number four is enabling a holistic approach. And principle number five is separating governance from management. So these are 5 principles which we need to understand. Okay. So what Cobit 5 says about it. Okay. So here we go. So principle number one, I'm going to explain, which is called meeting stakeholder needs. Guys, please remember, I'll explain in very simple words what it means. Okay. So please make sure I'm not going to tell you here which kind of control you can implement in specific situation. No. So here we have an overall 5 principle which we are going to discuss. Understood? So first you need to understand what are the stakeholders. Like if you are working in a company, for example, in a manufacturing business, so you have a various stakeholders. Stakeholders mean to say those parties are people who are having direct or indirect interest in your business, right or wrong. It could be a government, it could be a shareholders, it could be a lenders, customer, suppliers, or regulatory authorities, even employees, uh, community surrounding you. All these are called stakeholders because they have a direct or indirect interest in your business, or they can affect your business, or they can be affected by your operations, right? So that is stakeholders. Now, what is the principle number one? So Cobit says, first under Cobit 5 model, it says, so our primary purpose is to meet the stakeholder needs. So what are stakeholder needs? For example, if stakeholders are shareholders, so what are their needs? Obviously, what they want from you stand for from the company, they want increase in stock prices. They want dividend from you. This is what they want. If stakeholder is the government, let's assume regulatory authority, what do they want from the company? They want, for example, compliance with the laws and regulation. If stakeholder is the tax authorities, what do they want? They want timely collection of the tax from you, right or wrong. If the stakeholder is the community, what they want you should not pollute the environment. If the stakeholder is the customer, what they want reliable product from you. If the stakeholder is the supplier, what they want timely payments from you. If the stakeholder is the lender, what they want timely payment of interest and principal amount from you, right or wrong. So all stakeholders have their needs. So we are going to apply IT, right or wrong, in companies operations. So first principle is meeting the stakeholder needs. What it means. So guys, number one, Through pictures, I can explain. So they are saying that being a company, you need to identify the stakeholder drivers. Stakeholders drivers mean to say, so what is important for the stakeholders? Or simply you can say, what are the needs of the stakeholders? So if you want to meet the stakeholder needs, so first you need to identify their needs. Who are your stakeholders? You need to decide, and what they want from you, you need to decide. Okay, once it is decided, then for example, let's assume I'm giving you one example. Stakeholder, let's assume, is the shareholder. I'm explaining from shareholder point of view. Okay, shareholders, they want what? They want capital appreciation in the stock price, and they want dividend for you. Right or wrong? So please remember, obviously, to increase the stock price and to pay the dividend. So company must be in a profit, right or wrong? If you are in the loss, maybe you will not be able to pay dividend. If you are in the losses, maybe capital or stock prices will decrease, not increase. So to increase or to meet the stakeholder needs, company must be in profit. So or to meet the stakeholders need, you need to create the value for them. So value creation mean to say what? Value creation means to say you should generate benefits for them. Okay, you should generate profits for them. As I'm giving you example for shareholders, right? To increase the stock price or to pay the dividend to the shareholders. So you need to have a profit. So I would say the profit could be the value creation. Understood? Okay. So value is created always whenever your benefits are more than your cost, or simply when your revenues are more than your cost, it means value is created. It means you are in the profit. Understood? So what is value creation? When benefits are more than your cost. So that is called value creation. Okay. To create the value, guys. I'll link, don't worry. First, let me explain the terminology. So under value creation, you have to focus on three things: realization of benefits. Obviously, if you are in profit, which is called value created, so you have to realize the benefits to the shareholders. What is the realization of benefits? Please don't forget the terminologies. Value creation mean to say when benefits are more than cost, like profit. Realization of benefits mean to say when benefits are transferred to the shareholders in shape of dividend or in shape of capital appreciation. That is called realization. Like benefits are transferred. So what is optimization of risk? Guys, risk optimization doesn't mean risk mitigation only. Risk optimization means say, so whenever you are taking any risk, for example, risk optimization, I'm explaining. For example, you are investing somewhere and you are thinking you are taking high risk. Obviously, so if you are taking high risk, so you should generate high return also to balance the risk. If you're taking less risk, so you should generate less return also to balance the risk. So the trade-off or the balance between risk and reward is called optimization of risk. So our focus is not only on minimization of risk. No, our focus is on optimization of risk, where we have to link the rewards with the risk. If risk is high, reward should be more. If risk is less, reward should be less. Right or wrong? Then third is what? The third thing, obviously, guys, optimal use of resources. What are the resources? Resources means whatever you deploy in your business. For example, people is your resource, computers are your resource, right or wrong? Management is your resource. So whatever things you deploy in your business, that is resource, and use your resources in the best way. That is called optimal use of resources. Don't lost. So I'm now going to link the information. Number one about what? Guys, they are telling you identify the stakeholders' needs. According to the stakeholders' needs, you have to create the value. And when you are creating the value, these 3 points should be in your mind. Okay, value creation means say when benefits are more than cost. These three things should be in your mind. You should realize the benefit, you have to optimize the risk, and you have to use the resources in optimal way. After that, for example, again, I'm just linking one more time. Now you will be 100% clear. So what was stakeholder needs? For example, shareholders are our stakeholders. They want capital appreciation. They want dividend. To do this, we have to create value. We need to earn profit. Right or wrong? That is called value creation. And after value creation, so we have to, like, for example, when we know we need a profit, okay, according to the profits, so we need to set enterprise goals. Enterprise goal means a company's goals. So what are the company goals? Obviously, to get the profit, we need to increase the sale. We need to minimize the cost or manage the cost. For example, okay, we need to deploy, let's assume, IT or whatever enterprise goals we need to set. Okay, if you just cross this word, focus here. For example, to get profit, we need to maximize sales. We need to minimize the cost to earn the profit. So that is why that is called enterprise goals. Set the enterprise goals. Once enterprise goals are set, for example, our goal is to increase the profit or is to increase the sale by, let's assume 100%, and is to reduce or to manage the cost by 20%. These are our goals. Once enterprise goals are set, then what is the next stage? You have to set IT related goals. What are IT related goals? IT related goal means say how IT can help you in achieving these things. For example, maybe if you will develop websites, okay, or if you will do e-commerce, or maybe if you will sell the goods throughout the world, okay, so that can increase your sales, because through e-commerce you can enter into the different markets of the different countries, right or wrong. So then you have to think, for example, how IT can help to reduce this cost, which is called IT related cost. Maybe automation. If you will apply automation, maybe you need less employees. It can help you to cutting the cost, right or wrong. So once IT relevant goals are set, then next stage is called enablers. Enablers means say apply the IT. Enablers are also called holistic approach. Holistic approach or enablers means say what resources are, what things you need to apply the IT. So this is the stage number one. What was the stage number one? Heading is called meeting the stakeholders' need. Stakeholders' needs. So for that, you need to know what stakeholders they want. Okay, what is value creation? Set the organizational goal according to that. Set the IT goals and then apply the IT. So now, because these enablers are written under, fourth principle. So that is why after first principle, which was meeting the stakeholder needs, I'm going to explain the fourth principle direct, which are called enablers. Understood? From enablers, we will get so many different words, so many different definitions. So here we go. And fourth principle I'm going to explain now. So here it's written here, see, enabling holistic approach, which are also called enablers. Enablers. Okay. So guys, please remember to apply IT. So we need in total 7 things. Okay. We need 7 things. So that is called holistic approach also, or 7 enablers also. Number 1, what we need? We need principles, policies, and frameworks. Keywords here, what? Policies and framework here. Like obviously when you apply IT, guys, so you also develop IT relevant policies as well. Right or wrong? For example, to which files you can get access, who can get access, right or wrong? Or for example, if you want to change any maybe function in the software, so from where you have to get approval, etc. Okay, so you cannot make any direct changes. If you want to, maybe if you have initially passed wrong entries, if you want to correct it, what are the policies for that? So you need to define principles, policies, and framework. So keyword is policies and framework here, which is also called principles. Number 2, you need to define the processes. Okay, for example, if you have a sale process, or if you have a purchase processes, or if you have a payment processes, that you have to define. Process means step by step how this activity will be completed. Who will do what? For example, if I'm making any payment, who will issue the payment voucher? Okay, for example, who will approve the payment voucher? Who will issue the check? So processes need to define. Then what? Number 3, you also need to have a strong organizational structure. Organizational structure means to say who is reportable to whom, who is senior, who is junior. Obviously, when you define the structure, you also define the roles and responsibilities with the structure also. Understood? So these 3 things are required. Number 4, you need a support from culture, ethics, and behavior. For example, it should not be like that. I want to bring automation system in my company, but some people, they are doing resistance. Okay, we need to promote our cultures. We need to promote the behaviors that this is the betterment for the business and this is the betterment for you, right? So culture is also required, sportive cultures. Number 5, obviously guys, for example, if you're an accountant and you have hardware and software, but you don't have a transactions to process, so then it is useless. So next thing is what you need information also. Right or wrong? Transactions also to apply IT, which kind of transaction this software or system will store. So this is the 5th thing. 6th thing is what you need infrastructures. Infrastructure means which kind of hardware you need, which kind of software you need, which kind of applications are required, which kind of services are required. So after that, once it is decided, you need a people with the right skills and competencies. For example, if you have a computers in your hand, but you don't know how to operate it, or if you have implemented ERP system, you don't know how to use it. So right, it means you need a people with relevant skills and competencies also. Okay, so it means to apply IT, we need these 7 things. Which 7 things we need, guys? We need policies and framework. We need to define the processes. We need organizational structures, cultures, information, infrastructures, and people. So these are called enablers. To apply IT, we need 7 things. Please remember last 3 things. Last 3 things we can say it is information, infrastructure, okay, and applications. Infrastructure means hardware and software both, right? Peoples. So these information, infrastructures, and peoples, these 3 things are classified as resources. Do you remember? In the first step, we studied optimization, optimal use of resources. These resources you have to utilize in the best way. Understood, guys? So this is called what? Enabling a holistic approach. So these are called resources. Now, guys, I hope so it is clear. Now I'm explaining. So there are total 5 principles. What was principle number 1 of Cobit 5? It was meeting the stakeholder needs. This we discussed in detail. Second principle is what? Second, I told you applying a holistic approach, which are called enablers. Okay, now I'm going to explain third principle, overall third principle, but it's written as a principle number 2, covering the enterprise end to end. What it means? It is not a hard and fast rocket science. No, covering the enterprise end to end mean to say. So when you apply the IT should not be applied only in, or you cannot say computers are IT is the distinct from other enterprise activities, or you do not apply IT only in single or one department. So you should apply the IT, okay, enterprise wide means throughout the entity you have to apply, and end to end. This is the keyword. It must be considered enterprise wide and end to end. Mean to say it should be applied throughout the company. Right or wrong? All functions and processes that govern and manage information wherever that information may be processed. So we have to apply IT there. Okay. So in simple words, what is principle number 2? Covering the enterprise end to end. Okay. Apply the IT throughout the company. That is called covering the enterprise end to end. It is not more than that. And then, guys, there number principle 3, but in total it is overall 4, because I told you holistic approach at the second. So that is called apply a single integrated framework. What it means, guys, as we have for accounting many different frameworks, like we have a IFRS, US GAAP. So same way for IT, we have a various frameworks. Cobit is there, ISAC is there, ESAC is there. Okay, so there are various frameworks are available. COCO model is there, which is Canadian based. Cobit is European based. ESAC model is there, which is, I guess it is by also American based. So there are different frameworks are applying. Whatever framework you are applying, so they are saying applying a single integrated framework. Like follow one framework, you can add some principles into that, but follow the guidelines of one framework. Okay, guys. So then next principle is what? Is the last principle, that is called what? Enabling the separating governance from management. Governance, guys, it is the responsibility of the board of directors. Okay, it is the responsibility of board of directors. So governance always have oversight role. Governance should not be mingled with the management, because board of directors, they are not responsible for day-to-day activities. Management is responsible for day-to-day activities. So but you have to ensure like governance is separate from the management, because governance means a board of directors is setting the overall objective of the business, and they are monitoring. I'm not saying they are doing, they are monitoring the progress towards those objectives. But on the other hand, okay, please remember governance process means the responsibility of the board of directors. They must follow 3 practices. Okay, number 1, what they should evaluate maybe the performance of others, direct, they should provide the direction, and they should monitor. Understood what's going on. But on the other hand, management. So management, obviously, they are carrying day-to-day activities of the business, right? to achieve the organizational goals. And management means like a CEO and the below level people. So they are responsible for day-to-day activities. So the management process have 4 responsibilities. Management what? So they must they must plan, build, run, and monitor the things. Okay. So in simple words, guys, please remember, this is the responsibility of the governance: evaluate, direct, and monitor. This is the responsibility of the management: plan, build, run, and monitor. Understood? So in simple words, board of directors, they must be clear what are their responsibilities. Okay. And the management, they must be clear what are their responsibilities. So this is what Cobit 5 it says, right? So now I'm going to explain Cobit 19, which was developed in 2018. Now, guys, here we have a Cobit 5 conversion to Cobit 2019. Okay. Actually, we are discussing Cobit 2019. Okay. Cobit 2009, it's another version of the Cobit framework. Okay. So in Cobit 19, we have some principles which we need to understand. Please remember. So Cobit 19 is having 6 governance system principle. Governance, this is the keyword. 6 principles, but relevant to the governance system. Okay, so, and they have 3 governance framework principles. And you need to memorize these principles. What are 6 governance system principles and what are 3 governance framework principles? Okay, 6 governance system principle I'm going to explain. So what does mean by first governance system? You have to understand these 2 words: governance system and governance framework. Okay, governance system is what? Here it is defined: a governance system is the rules, practices. Rules mean to say, like, we are making sometimes rules, policies, practices, like we apply those things, and processes, like we define certain things, what actions to be taken, what is the first act, second act. For example, sale process: who will receive order, who will approve sale order, who will dispatch goods, who will create an invoice. So governance system is the rules, practices, and processes that direct and regulate an entity. Okay, who will provide the directions to the entity, and obviously, if you provide the directions, obviously you have to regulate. Obviously, you have to ensure that those directions are implemented or followed. Understood? So it has 6 principles. Please remember, what is governance system? Governance system is the rules, practices, and processes that direct and regulate the entity. Understood? A governance system must, so these 6 points you have to remember. Governance system, the rules, practices, and processes must, okay, must provide stakeholders value. I told you meeting the stakeholder needs, that is called provide stakeholder value. You can define the same thing here. Okay, like identify the stakeholder needs, create the value, set the enterprise goals, set the IT relevant goals, and apply the IT. Okay, that is, they are saying governance system must provide stakeholders value. They must create the value for the stakeholders. Okay, then governance system must utilize a holistic approach. Do you remember enablers? I told you enablers, 7 enablers are there. So they are saying governance system utilize holistic approach that creates synergies. Synergies means a benefit among interconnected components, like simply which will create the benefits to the company. Okay, like they should have a holistic approach. Number 3, governance system must respond dynamically to changes in the design factors. If anything is changing, so your governance system must be dynamic to respond those changes. Number 4, so in governance system must be distinct from management. As I told you, separate the governance from the management. It's the same principle. Number 3, governance system must be tailored to the enterprise needs. Obviously, guys, maybe your needs are different, my needs are different. So governance system should be designed according to the organizational need. Understood? Then what? The sixth principle: the governance system must encompass not only IT function. Like as a being a board of directors, you should not focus only on IT function. You also need to focus on information, processes, and technology that contribute to the organizational goals achievement. Okay, like it should not focus only on IT. You have to focus on information, processes, and technology. So these are called 6 governance system principles. Now we have here governance framework. 3 governance framework principles. Here we have 3 Governance framework principle. I'm not sure they will test in the exam or not, but just for the sake of safe side, to be on the safe side, just memorize these things. Now, what is governance framework word I'm going to explain? Okay, system you should remember. System means say rules, practices, and procedure that direct and regulate the entity. Then what is governance framework? Governance framework is the structure. It's a structure upon which governance system is built, like a structure over which system is based. Okay, a governance framework has three principles. Number one, your governance framework must be conceptual model. It must be based on conceptual model. Okay, to achieve consistency and automation by identifying components and their relationship. Simply, it must, this is the key word. It must be conceptual. Framework must be conceptual. It must be open and flexible. Okay, for example, if new risks are coming, okay, for example, if new problems are arising, your governance framework must be open and flexible to permit inclusion of new content and issues without loss of consistency and integrity. Okay, then what? The governance system must be aligned with major standards, regulations, frameworks, and best practice. It should not be like that your governance system is violating the standards, your governance system is violating the regulations. No, governance framework must be aligned with major standards, regulations, frameworks, and best practices. Like you have to compare yourself with the best in class. You should not violate the standards. You should not violate the regulations, etc. It must be aligned with the major standards. I hope so it is clear. So these are three framework principles. Understood, guys? Now, guys, we are going to discuss this topic, small topic. It's called IT governance focus area. So being a, for example, a top management. So on which areas of IT you need to focus. Okay, so that is called IT governance focus area. Let's review the board of directors. So first of all, IT governance has several focus areas. Like all these things you have to monitor. Okay, being a board of director. Number one, strategic alignment. What does mean by strategic alignment? So strategic alignment means that you have to ensure our strategic alignment is dedicated to ensure the linkage of business plans with the IT plans. Do you remember? I told you under Cobit model, like when you are meeting the stakeholders' needs, first you need to know what are their needs. Then according to that, set the organizational goals. And then according to organizational goals, set the IT relevant goals. So the linkage between business plans and IT plan is called strategic alignment. It should not be like that. For example, your business plan is to grow your business, right? But IT is not supporting. Obviously, IT should also be supportive in your growth of the business. That is called strategic alignment. So here, remember this word. It is a linkage of business plans with IT plans. Okay, while defining, maintaining, and validating the IT value proposition. Okay, in simple words, IT operations must be aligned with enterprise operations. Our IT goals must be aligned with the enterprise goals. This is the keyword you have to remember here. This statement you can memorize, or this statement you can memorize. Understood? This is called what? Strategic alignment. So you have to focus your IT is aligned with the business objective or not. Number two, value delivery. What is value delivery? For example, I bought automated system. Why I bought? Because I was expecting certain benefits from that automation system. So in value delivery, you have to think, you have to ensure that IT delivers the promised benefit or not. Understood? If IT is delivering you your promised benefits, whatever was expecting, you are getting those things, it means value delivery is there. If you are expecting something different, but it's happening something different, it means value delivery is not there. So you have to focus, being a board of directors, you have to focus on the value delivery, that IT delivers the promised benefit or not. So here is the key statement. It ensures that IT delivers the promised benefit or not, while concentrating on optimizing cost and proving the intrinsic value of IT. In simple words, it ensures that IT delivers the promised benefit or not. Number three, being a board of director, you also need to focus on resource management. Resource, I told you, people, infrastructure, information, all these are called resources. So you have to ensure that you are using your resources, okay, in optimal way. So here, this is called resource management. Okay, it should not be like that. You need accountant, you are hiring engineers to work for the accountant, or you are assigning the responsibility to engineers, okay, to do the accounting work. So resource management deals with optimal investment in and proper management of IT resources. And resources I told you like information, infrastructure, applications, peoples, etc. So you need to manage your resource. Then another area which requires your focus, that is called IT risk, because obviously we face many risks like risk of virus, risk of hacking, etc. Okay, so all those risks must be identified. And once risks are identified, the another focus area which requires your attention, you are a board. So board of directors should focus on risk management also. Obviously, like risks are properly identified, risks are properly assessed, risks are properly managed by setting the risk response strategies, right or wrong. So risk management includes risk awareness by senior management, knowledge of compliance requirements, transparency about risk to the organization, and embedding risk management responsibility into entity structure. Like, risk management process we have studied that you should identify risk, you should assess the risk, you should prioritize the risk, you should, set the risk response, you should monitor. So all this is called what? Risk management. So you being a board of director, you have to focus risk management is there. Then guys, performance measurement. Obviously, you also need to track. Being a board, you need to track and monitor the entire process, like people are following the entire process, including strategy implementation, completion of projects, like projects are being completed on time, resource usage, okay, like you are using resources in optimal way, cost measures, you are saving cost, etc., process performance and service delivery. So you need to measure all these things. This is called what? Performance measurement. So these are called IT governance focus areas. Now, guys, we are going to talk about the most important topic from this chapter, that is called data life cycle. Okay. So actually data life cycle is having 7 phases, you can say. So first phase is called data capture, that I'll explain. Second is called data maintenance. Third is called data synthesis and analytics. Fourth is called data usage. Fifth is called data publication. Sixth is called data archival. And seventh is called data purging. So here we go. Okay. Like from data capture till the data purging. Okay. What stages are there? So we are going to discuss. So total 7 stages we have. 7 phases of data life cycle we are going to discuss. Okay. It could be tested in MCQs also. It could be tested in essay question as well. So I'll show you some question at the end of the class. So here we go. First stage is called data capture. So what does mean by data capture? Please remember, I'll quote certain examples. Data capture mean to say obtain, like data capture phase is to obtain the data. Obviously, when we get the data, that is called data capture. Okay. So it is the act of creating information that does not yet exist within the organization. Like here we are creating the information which is not existing in the within the organization. That is called data capture, or you can just remember is to obtain the data. It's about how to get the data. That is called data capture. So there are 3 ways to capture the data. How many ways? 3 ways. Number 1, utilizing data. Utilizing data is what? Please first I'll read it, then I'll give you example. Here, the organization obtains, like you are capturing the data, already existing data outside the organization. Okay, for example, it may buy or otherwise acquire the data from outside an entity. Like utilizing data mean to say data is created by someone else outside the organization, but you are going to buy that data or you are going to acquire that data from outside out entity. That is called utilizing data. Like it is you are going to obtain this data from outside the entity. For example, you are going to search something from the Google, or maybe I'm going to buy email addresses from any XYZ party. Okay, that is called utilizing data, which is created by someone else from outside the organization, and I'm going to buy that. That is called utilizing data. This is the first way to obtain data, first way to capture data. Second way is what? Data entry. Data entry, you are entering your data by yourself into your system. So you are creating the data, that is called data entry. So new data values can be created within the organization. For example, you are running a hospital. So every day, X number of patients are visiting visiting your office, now you are just creating their database, like what's the name of customer, phone number of the customer, email address of the customer, right or wrong, etc. This kind of information. So that is called data entry. Then guys, we have a third way to capture the data, that is called signal reception. And it is something interesting to understand. What is signal reception? So you can also go through these examples, okay, later on, but I'll give you example. Signal reception, first understand the definition. The organization acquires data, like here you obtain the data that has already been created by control system within the organization. For example, you have captured the data over 1 years. I'm giving example. That is called data entry. That how many customers they have visited your hospital over 1 year, what was their name, telephone number, their insurance companies, what kind of disease they have, etc. Now, what is signal reception? Now, in second year, for example, I was your patient in the last year. In second year, I came again to your hospital. Okay, and you just entered my maybe customer ID number, or maybe my Emirates ID number, or my maybe national ID number into your system, and you will get all the data from your system. Oh, his name is Mr. Qasim. For example, he was having this disease previously. Okay, this is his date of birth. This is his age. Okay, this was the medicine which we prescribed for him last time. So that is signal reception. Signal reception is what? Organization acquires data that has already been created. Like you have already created, and you are getting this information now from your control system within the organization. Understood? So another example for signal reception, we have a biometric technologies where we enter our time in and time out. At the end of the month, obviously, you can get that data. You can export to the Excel file. So that is also signal reception, because that data is already being created throughout the month. Okay. Within your company, now you are just getting that data. Okay. Just to see how much salary you have to pay. That is also signal reception. In utilizing data, you are getting data from outside the organization, which is created by someone else. In data entry, you are creating that data. In signal reception, you have already created that data. Now you are just getting the access to that data within your company. That is signal reception. So this is the first stage, which is called data capture. What is data capture? How to obtain the data. That is called data capture. Understood? Now we have here second stage of data. Once data is captured, now we have a data maintenance. Guys, please remember, data maintenance doesn't mean you are going to do some lubricants to the data. No. Okay, data maintenance means, say, this is the definition. You are going to supply the data to the point, like you are going to provide the data to that point at which data synthesis or data usage occur. Like supplying of data where data analysis is going to be performed, or where data is going to be used. So that is called data maintenance. And obviously, for example, if I'm asking you, give me the receivable reports, or maybe receivable reports for the bad debts, let's assume for last 5 years. Okay, so maybe you can extract from the system over 5 years, for example, and maybe if I ask you for when any specific customer, so then you will sort out that data. Okay, for that specific customer, if any information is missing, you will include. If any information is duplicating, you will remove. So that is called that is also called data maintenance. Data maintenance means, say, obviously supplying the data to point where data synthesis and data usage occurs. And obviously, before supplying it, you have to do data cleansing and data enrichment. Data cleansing is what? And enrichment is what? Like if information is missing, you are finding out. If information is duplicative, you are removing, and you are just making it fit for use. That is called what? Data maintenance. But this is the key definition. Supplying data to the point at which data synthesis and data usage occurs. Third stage is what? Data synthesis and analytics. Okay, data synthesis and data analytics. Okay, what does mean by data analytics? Obviously, for example, if you are going to invest in a project, first you will obtain the data about the project. That is data capture. For example, what will be the cost, what will be the investment, what will be the revenues, what will be the expenses. Once that data is captured, you will maintain the data. You will supply the data where data obviously will be analyzed. And now third stage is data analytics. Maybe you will apply some modeling with that data. Maybe you will calculate net present value, internal rate of return, payback period, Understood? Maybe you will do some risk modeling also. Okay. So when you apply the modeling, some techniques, okay, to find out some result, okay, that is called data synthesis and data analytics. Okay, then we have a data usage. Obviously, once NPV, IRR, these things are calculated, maybe you will send it to the top management because they are the one who is going to use this data. And they are one who are going to take final decision, like they want to invest into this invest projects or they don't want to invest. So that is data usage. So data usage means to say, obviously the next phase is to use the data in support of enterprise because they want to take decision. This stage can be defined as application of data to task the enterprise needs to run and manage itself. So this is just application of data on which, obviously on that data you want, on the based on that data you want to take your decision. This is what is called usage of data. And please remember, whenever you are trying to use the data, you should make sure that you are using for legal purpose only. Okay, you are not violating any laws and regulations. Understood? This is the challenge here. You have to keep in your mind. Once data usage is done, so then we have a data publication. Data publication, sometimes, for example, financial reports. So obviously you will obtain the data about sales, purchase. You will maintain the data. Okay, you will prepare some financial statements, and later on maybe you will publish this data to the public. Data publication means what? Data publication refers to sending of data to a location outside the organization. For example, monthly statement to customer. That is also called data publication. We are sending the data to a location outside the organization. That is called data publication. Obviously, you are going to publish this data. That is called data publication. Then we have a data archival. Guys, to understand data archival, guys, in emails, you have a archival function, right? You can archive certain emails. For example, what is data archival? Please remember, this is the definition. This is the definition. Data archival involves copying data to a location where it is stored in case it is ever needed again. For example, in universities, they have archival department. For example, you are the grad, you are the one who is graduate from the university. Obviously, they will issue your certificates, degree, transcript, etc. And you are out of university now. Maybe in future you will lose your certificates, you will lost your certificates, again you will contact to the university, right or wrong. So now university will look in their archival department. They have archival department because they moved your data to archival department. And because in case in future they need, obviously when you lost your certificate or when you will lose your certificate and you will contact the university, they will contact the archival department, and from there obviously they can get your data back and they can reissue your transcript and the degrees, right or wrong. So that is called data archival. Means say you are copying data to a location where it is stored in case it is ever needed again. Okay, at the same time data is removed from all active environment, because from active system you have moved this data to archival. And if, for example, maybe in when you are doing archivals, guys, you are storing, duplicating, copying the data. Obviously, guys, here you might have a retention policies also. Maybe you will store data for 50 years, 60 years, 7 years. It depends, right? So this is called data archivals. And last is what? For example, if you are required to store data for 60 years, let's assume for graduate students, once 60 years will be completed. So now you will maybe delete their permanent files, right or wrong? I'm just assuming. There could be maybe 70 years retention policies for the universities. I'm not sure. So data purging mean to say at the end of data life cycle, every copy of data item is removed from the enterprise. Mean to say they are going to purge it. They are going to destroy. They're going to dispose the data. And obviously, data disposal should not, it is not easy. It's not like that you will just throw the paper outside. No, you have to trash it properly, right? So disposing of all copies of data is often difficult, which results in a data governance challenge, because obviously you should not throw it. It can be misused also. Understood that data purging means it disposing of the data, disposing of all copies of the data. Okay, that is called what? Data purging. You are going to remove the data from the enterprise. That is called data purging. So that these are the 7 stages of data life cycle. Now, guys, here with data purging, we can link one point. That is called record retention policy. As I told you, maybe universities, they might have a retention policy like how many years. So they have to keep this record. Okay, maybe for 50 years, 60 years. For example, for the tax, let's assume in the USA, please remember this. If you are filing for the tax, so you are required at least to keep 7 years data. For example, if you file any tax return this year, this data will be save. You have to save this data for 7 years, because in case of any fraud or investigations, the tax authorities, they may visit your office and they may ask for that data. So that is why there is a retention policies is there. Okay. So for tax purpose, it is 7 years. Okay. Please remember, keeping and maintaining too many records or storing them longer than needed. For example, if you're storing data for 100 years, so obviously it can create unneeded cost for the organization. Maybe you need proper room, you need to hire proper people, so it will increase your cost. So this is what is the retention policy. Retention policy means every company, they might have a retention policy, right or wrong? Like how many years you have to, maintain the record for this data, right? For the tax purpose, you have to maintain for 7 years. Okay, that is it. Now, guys, here I'm going to show you some questions. As I told you, just 2, 3 questions I'm going to show you. For example, this question I already told you. What is the minimum length of time tax documents? No suspicions of fraud must be kept. It should be kept for 7 years, as I told you. Question number 2, guys. Please, you will answer this question now. A company obtained property tax report from county assessor's office. It means you are getting this information from external, outside the company, to prepare survey reports for a developer. Acquisition of data from outside the organization is included in which phase of the data lifecycle? Which phase it is? It is data capture. In data capture, there are 3 ways to capture the data, right or wrong? Do you remember, guys? So it is under the phase of data capture. You can go back in which you have a data entry, you have a signal receptions, you have utilizing data. So that is under, this is utilizing data because you're taking from outside the entity. Okay, so that is under data capture stage. Then we have another question here. Storing records longer than needed. Like if you are storing records more than needed time can create a enormous challenge when a company needs to find a relevant records for legal dispute. It is correct. Because if you have so many records and you are unnecessarily storing and now you are looking for specific document, you want to search specific document. So it obviously it will create a problem for you to search that specific document from from bulk of documents, right or wrong, from bulk of files. So that is why storing records longer than needed can create enormous issue like cost issues and need to find relevant record for legal dispute. Okay, it is not relevant to periodically destroy old documents. It is not relevant to is suspected of having filed fraudulent tax returns. It is not part of legal regulated industry. No, it is obviously if you will store more than that, it will increase your cost or it will create a difficulty for you to find out relevant records for legal dispute. Then we have another question. What is data maintenance? Do you remember? Data maintenance, I told you, supplying of data to the points at which data synthesis and data usage occurs. Right or wrong? So this is data maintenance. So straight away definitions are there. You have to remember, guys. Another question. For example, a new contract was signed between ABC Corporation and XYZ Software. The contract had several contractual constraints. There are so many contractual constraints are there regarding how data are used. Ensuring legalities are observed in the contract is the role of what? Outsourced service provider? No third party will come and do for you. Resource management, no, it is called data governance, guys. Okay, because you want to ensure legalities are observed in the contract, like what are legal terms. So this is called data governance. Okay, guys, so these are now we have another question. For example, upon her arrival at medical practice, maybe it's a patient was given an electronic notepad. Through this notepad, she confirmed her contact and insurance information. She also completed her medical and family history. This was to capture data is referred to as what? It is signal reception. Because data is already created within the organization by giving her name, or insurance company. So they are getting all information about that. This is called signal reception. It's not a utilization of data, because utilization of data, it is created outside the organization, but here it is within the organization. Understood, guys? Value delivery, I told you it is something different, like IT is providing you promised benefit or not. Cardinality means a uniqueness. This we discussed in the last class. So it is signal reception. I hope so it is clear. Clear, guys?